The Bible's full of all those illustrations, right? And stories about human life and human behavior and activity and what to expect and what's going on. Incredibly rich. There was one story, said Jesus and his disciples were walking along this road, I guess after a hard day's work. They're heading home. And one of the disciples said, there's a fig tree. Let's go over, have some figs, relax a little bit, and then continue our journey. And evidently the master thought it was a good idea, so the story says they all went off the side of the road to this fig tree. And it must have been the season of the figs, right? Or they wouldn't have said, let's go have some figs. So they walk over to this fig tree, and they look all around it, inside and out, check it all out, and to their very great disappointment, on this fig tree, in the season of the figs, there were no figs. On a fig tree. Very quickly, according to the story, Jesus said, take this tree out. That's what he said. A fig tree is supposed to have figs. Take this one out. Now, something interesting happened, though. Something interesting happened. The story says, one of them said, Master, look, let's make a deal. Right? And God's always been in the deal-making business. Really. In reading the whole Bible. And sometimes it's kind of a game that's played. It says God and Satan got together one day. And Satan said, I got a deal for you. You got this guy Job, he's a favorite of yours. But if you'll let me at him, I'll make him curse you before he dies. God said, no way. He's my special favorite. He would never curse me. Satan said, try me. God says, interesting proposition. Now, poor Job doesn't know this conversation's going on. Who knows what all's going on, right? I don't know what all's going on. But God thought that over and said, hey, wait just a minute. I'll tell you what, Satan. I'll let you at him, but the only thing you can't do, because it's true, I've protected him up until now. And Satan said, yeah, you got a wall around him. I can't even get to him. But if you take the wall down, I guarantee he'll curse you. God said, no way. He said, try me. God says, well, I'll tell you what. I'll let you do anything but kill him. Satan said, that's all I need. They make this deal. And now, sure enough, Satan goes after Job, according to the story. Takes his family, takes all of his possessions, afflicts him with sickness and boils, ruins his reputation. And now he's sitting on an ash heap, scraping his sores. His wife says, why don't you curse God and die? He said, get away from me, woman. He said, the good Lord gave me all this, and whatever he gives, he can take away. God's up there smiling. And he never did curse God. So Satan had to come back and say, you got you quite a man. I did my best. God probably says, I told you. Now God says, well, I've played this game now with Job. What can I do to make it up to him? Because if you play games with your friends, you got to make it up to him, right? So God says, well, I got to think of something. So he says, I know what I'll do. I'll just multiply by 7 whatever he had to begin with, which is probably what you should do if you play those kind of games. Multiply it at least by 7. So who knows what all's going on? But the Bible is rich in so many incredible stories. But this one, the master teacher said, take the fig tree out. But the disciples said, one of them said, look, we come by this way all the time. Give us a chance with this tree. We'll dig around it, see if we can work with it. And the next time we come by here, the next season, then we'll have some figs. Jesus said, you got a deal. So evidently they worked with this tree. And sure enough, the story flashes back and says they came along that road the next season for the second time. One of them said, there's our tree. Let's go have some figs. And for the second season in a row, they went over, checked out this fig tree, and sure enough, to their great disappointment, for the second season in a row, no figs. Without hesitation, Jesus this time said, take this tree out. And he added, why let it take up the ground? And I guess that means fig trees better have figs. So you just have those meetings every once in a while. You call everybody together and say, today we checking the figs. To see who gets to stay. I don't know what else you do. Finally, you got to check by results. You judge by results in the final analysis. Okay. Now here's another key to leadership. In building a successful team of people, learn to work with the people who deserve it, not the people who need it. Key point. Learn to work with the people who deserve it, not the people who need it. Now, you've got to set up ahead of time who deserves it. When you bring somebody into the enterprise, you just set it up. Say, when you do this, then we do this. And when you add this to it, then we step in here. When you do all this, then the company, Here's what we do after you've done all this. Make sure all those guidelines are clear when you set it up. Now then you know who deserves it. Somebody says, well, I've done this, and you say, fine, okay, we'll step in, we'll do this, we'll give you the backup. You don't respond to need, you respond to who deserves. Now remember, the pull is in the opposite direction. Guess who wants your help? Usually the wrong people. It's usually the people who need it, not the people who deserve it. But you must, in an enterprise, you must learn to respond to the people who deserve, not the people who need. There's plenty of other places for your benevolence, But in your enterprise, you respond to the people who deserve. Okay, now then, the next key under leadership in working with a team of people is learn not to linger too long. Now, you've got to have some patience, right, in working with people. You've got to give people time, but not forever. You can't linger too long. And that's another Bible story, right? Jesus got his disciples together one day and said, look, we're going to go evangelize the world. We've been together 3.5 years. It's now time to put the story on the people. And sure enough, the last 2,000 years, it's been a unique project, evangelizing the world. He said, here's how we're going to do it to start with. We're going to divide up 2 by 2. You 2 take that city. You 2 take that city. Story said he divided them up 2 by 2 and sent them out to the various cities and said, go to the city, 2 of you tell the story. Then he said, if they buy the story fairly soon, stay. I guess, right? Put it all together, start the classes, get the church going, whatever. Synagogue rolling, whatever it was in those days. And build and grow. But he said, if you walk into a city and you tell the story and they don't respond fairly soon, he said, don't stay, leave. Now see, that's excellent leadership advice. Don't stay. And the reason is there's too many cities that will to linger long with those that won't. And you're not there to change anyone anyway. You're there to find people who respond to the story. That's who you're looking for, the people who respond. You're not there to wrestle them to the ground. So share and look. Share, look, and pick. And it's easy to pick. You pick the ones who respond. But he said, don't stay. Then he also added, when you walk out of one of those cities that doesn't respond, wipe your shoes off, right? Whatever that meant. I'm sure in those days that, no telling what that meant. There's some modern gestures that are easier to understand, but, But he did say, don't stay, don't linger too long. And the reason is because there's too many prospects. There's too many people who would be willing and happy for the story, saying, I'm glad you came my way. I've been waiting for this story, right? There's so many like that you don't want to wrestle and worry and try to change people who are not going to respond. So that's good leadership information. Don't linger too long. Next is, don't expect the pear tree to bear apples. Let everybody do what they can do. Because you can teach on apples and hang apples on a pear tree, try to get it started. You can put up a sign that said, this is an apple tree. I mean, you can play all kinds of tricks. But sure enough, come season, you got pears. So let people do what they're going to do. Find out what the response is. Find out where people can fit in your organization. Let them fit there. Let them grow to that position. Okay, let people become what they're going to become, be what they're going to be. But leadership learns the skill of selectivity rather than trying to remake people, because you can't make people become successful. Then one more point on building a successful team of people, 2 more. One is, leadership should learn when you've got too many people for any one single enterprise. You've got too many that have lost touch. They've lost out. They've fallen behind. Just every once in a while, you got to go through and rework your list and go through and see who's still got the fire and the excitement and the joy and the vigor and the vitality. And then you've also got to analyze who have lost it. And that's just part of the process of building a good team. You just got to go through. You just got to take a fairly frequent look to see who you've got. Because sometimes you wind up with too many. And that's an Old Testament Bible story, right? Story of Gideon, the Jewish hero, military hero. Interesting story. Story says, the angel of the Lord appeared unto Gideon and said, you've been chosen to raise an army and chase off the Midianites. And the Israelites were having a problem with the Midianites. I guess they were in God's doghouse for a while, right? He sent the Midianites along to, rough them up and push them around. give them all kinds of heartache and trouble. And the Midianites were good at it because they were mean and ugly. They were bad news. But I guess finally they'd learned their lesson, right? And it was time for the Midianites to go. So the word was, Gideon, you raise the army, chase off the Midianites. Gideon said, no problem. Promptly became one of the world's all-time great recruiters. I don't know what all he did. Put up a little booth, join now, you know, whatever. Clever advertising. But anyway, he got the job done. Within a short period of time, Gideon raised an army of 32,000. Short time. He is fairly proud of himself. Brings his 32,000 to the good Lord and said, I did as you commanded. I now have an army. We're ready for the Midianites. Good Lord says, good job, Gideon. You got to be one of the earth's noble. However, we got a problem. Gideon says, what is it? I'll fix it. The good Lord said, well, I appreciate your recruiting effort, but you got too many. Gideon says, wow, I don't understand that. The Midianites were mean. They were bad. Gideon might have said, I wished I had about 10,000 more. And to take a look at the Midianites, he could have done with 10,000 more. But anyway, the good Lord says, hey, take my word for it. You got too many. And Gideon says, well, what shall I do? The good Lord says, try this. Get them all together in one place. Stand up, give your last ringing military speech. We're going to go conquer the Midianites. When you finish with your speech, say, if there's anybody here that's afraid we're going to lose the upcoming fight with the Midianites, you can be excused, no questions asked, just go home. Can't use you. Gideon said, clever idea. Got them all together, gave his last ringing military speech, wound it up by saying, if there's anybody here that's afraid with the upcoming battle that we're going to lose, you can just quietly go home. We don't need you. And sure enough, some left that were afraid they were going to lose. And the number was 22,000. Now, I don't know if they wrote pink slips or what they did, right? But Gideon says, how true. If you've got 32,000 and 22,000 think you're going to lose, guess what? You're going to lose. You can't use that many losers. Gideon says, home. 22,000 go home. Gideon says, no problem, we'll do it with 10. And the good Lord said, you've still got too many. Gideon says, well, what now? The good Lord says, try this. March the 10,000 till they're hot and thirsty down by the river. And when you get to the river, the ones that just jump in, throw their spear down, throw their shield down, just jump in the water and start drinking. Said, you can't use them. They're too reckless. They're too careless. They're not vigilant. And you don't have time to train them. But the ones that keep the spear and the shield and just lap the water like a dog and keep looking around, those are the ones that are ready. And those are the troops you can use to fight the battle. Gideon said, how clever. Marches the 10,000 till they're hot and thirsty down by the river. And sure enough, some jumped in. They were careless. They threw down their spear, threw down their shield, jumped in the water, started drinking. And the number was 9,700. 300 that were left. Got the spear and the shield. Right? Gideon says, you 9,700 home. So they go dripping home. Gideon now has 300 out of 32,000 and says, no problem. However, we got to have a clever plan. So he puts together this incredibly clever plan. He says, what we will do, we'll use the element of surprise. In the middle of the night, we will surround the camp and we'll space ourselves all around the camp of the Midianites. And Gideon says, when I give the word, we'll have a pitcher with a light in it. And we'll break that, show the light, and we'll each have a trumpet. And we'll blast on the trumpets, and then we'll scream and yell like Comanches. Or like something, whatever. That's what he said. 300 say, no problem. Sure enough, they surrounded the camp, middle of the night. Midianites were asleep. Gideon gives the signal. They break the pitchers, show the light in the middle of the night, blast on these trumpets, and they scream and yell. The Midianites were asleep. They came awake hearing this incredible sound. It sounded like there were 300,000. They got so frightened and so confused, they started fighting each other. Story says most of them went by their own sword. And the ones that were left are making it over the hill, 300 in hot pursuit. And Gideon becomes the great military hero. His story is preserved. And part of the lesson is, when you start an enterprise and you want to accomplish something, you got to keep checking to make sure you haven't got too many that have lost the joy, they've lost the excitement, they've lost the vigor and the vitality and the feeling for success. And you just got to go through and find some little tests or something that will start showing you who you've got that's going to help you get the job done. It's part of the challenge of leadership. Now here's one more. In building a successful team of people, leadership must understand the fact that there is both good and evil. When the leaders of our country, the founding fathers, put this country together, they considered the fact of both good and evil. They said, our real challenge is how to have just enough law to limit the bad side of our nature and how to have maximum liberty to encourage and entice the good side of our nature. Since we are both good and bad, for whatever reason, it is a fact. There is both good and evil. Now here's what leadership must understand. Some people have given themselves over to the bad side. They've sold out. So you've just got to be careful as a leader. It's part of the responsibility of leadership to guard the flock, to guard the enterprise, to be watchful. As we discussed earlier, there are sheep and there are shepherds and there are wolves, and some wolves learn to dress up like sheep. So you've just got to watch. Be careful. Some people have sold out. Some people are troublemakers. You just got to learn to spot that. And some people are good producers, but they're troublemakers. But you can't afford their production. They will cause more misery than they will progress. It's part of the role of leadership. See, the real challenge of life is to be the least of the bad in us and the most of the good in us. But some people have just let the evil side of their nature overwhelm them, and they've sold out. So leadership must understand there is both good and evil, and you got to be on the lookout for those, even though they're talented, even though they might have ability. You've just got to watch, because you can't afford their presence. And that brings me to the story of the frog and the scorpion. According to the story of the frog and the scorpion, the story says the frog and the scorpion appeared on the bank of the river at the same time. And the frog was about to jump in the river, swim to the other side. The scorpion happened to come along the same time and observed what was happening. And when he saw the frog about ready to jump in the river, swim to the other side, he engaged the frog in conversation. He said, "Wait, Mr. Frog, I see you're about to jump in the river, swim to the other side." Mr. Frog said, "That's correct." The scorpion said, "Look, I also want to get to the other side, but unfortunately I'm a scorpion and I can't swim. Would you be so kind as to let me hop on your back? You swim across the river, deposit me on the other side. I would be so grateful since I can't swim." The frog looked at the scorpion and said, "No way." He said, "You're a scorpion. And scorpions sting frogs. They kill them." He said, "I'd get out there about halfway and you'd sting me and I'd drown. I'm not going to do that. You think I'm crazy?" The scorpion said, "Hey, with your frog brain, you're not thinking." He said, "Sure, I'm a scorpion, but if I was to sting you out there halfway, you would drown, but so would I. I can't swim, so I'm not going to do that. I want to get to the other side." Frog said, "Sounds reasonable. Hop on." According to the story, the scorpion hops on the frog's back, and the frog starts across the river. When he gets halfway, the scorpion stings the frog. They are now both in the water, about to go down for the third time. The frog cannot believe what has happened. He says in his dying gasp, "Why did you do that? I'm about to drown, but so are you. Why would you do that?" And the scorpion said, "Because I am a scorpion. You must understand. Scorpions sting frogs." And as a wise leader, you must not take any chances. So, leadership should understand the story of the frog and the scorpion. And they must also understand the fact that there is both good and evil. Okay. Next, leadership should make these 5 studies. Let me just give you the list. Then I have some notes from a speech I gave and some challenges here, and we'll wrap up the weekend. In your leadership role, study these 5 subjects. First is be a student of possibility. Possibility. What's possible? The most incredible things are possible, and once you make the study, read the stories, look into it, you understand possibilities are everywhere. Dr. Schuler's got the group called the Possibility Thinkers, right? I was a guest speaker for him one Sunday morning, a long time ago. The Possibility Thinkers. That's good. Be a possibility thinkers. Keep reading the stories. Keep studying all of the possibilities. And keep looking for new possibilities in your own enterprise, with your own life, and what's going on. Okay. Number one, be a student of possibility. Number two, be a student of opportunity. Opportunity in business, opportunity in the changing times, opportunity everywhere. Make sure you just take a look at all the opportunities in your own enterprise. Sometimes you don't have to go looking far for opportunity. It's right there. I know over the last half a dozen years, a lot of real estate people sold real estate, but they never bought any. Don't miss the opportunities. A man now has one home and two cars. What he really should have is one car and two homes. Okay. Make sure you don't miss the opportunities, because a lot of them are right there. Right there. Okay. Don't pass up, but be a student of opportunity. Third, be a student of ability. Humans have the most incredible ability. And be a student of your own ability. No telling what you could learn if you tried. No telling what skill you could develop if you tried. No telling what you could accomplish in your own ability. I've discovered some incredibly unique people that had the ability, and it just wasn't obvious to begin with. I found Harold Dyke up in Canada about 24 years ago. And we met socially, but I took a look right away and I said, here's a unique young man. He was 28 years old. He'd been working for the railroad in Canada for 10 years, started when he was 18, right out of high school. He was now 28 years old, been there 10 years, and he was making $325 a month, something about like that. And he was getting a bit discouraged. He said, I looked 4 desks over from me, and there's a man, 45, making $600-700 a month. And he said, you mean I'm going to go from now till age 45, move 3 desks, and make $600-700 a month? He said, I was just getting a little discouraged with my prospects there. Well, anyway, I came along and I met him, and I knew he had unusual ability. So I recruited him, hired him, he went to work for me. His first year with me, he made over $45,000. From a $325 clerk to $45,000 his first year. Incredible. Now he's a very successful businessman. Incredible, unique gentleman. And the railroad had him for 10 years and never discovered his unusual abilities. Right? So sometimes you got people right around you. You got to make sure you discover, in the role of leadership, discover the people who've got the ability, and then make sure you discover your own ability. See, some things you just don't know till you try. You just don't know till you see if you can do it. So be a student of ability. Fourth, be a student of inevitability. That's important. Inevitability means, on your present course, where will you most inevitably arrive? Learn all the inevitable stories. Sure enough, if you do it long enough. Sure enough, if you indulge long enough. Sure enough, if you neglect long enough. Sure enough, it's just predictable. It's inevitable. Inevitable. That's being 200 feet from Niagara Falls in a little boat with no motor and no oars. It's inevitable. In fact, it's over. It's too late. When you can hear the roar of the falls and you're 200 feet, little boat, no motor, no oars, see, it's too late. Somebody should have painted you that picture way upstream and said, here's where you don't want to find yourself. And if somebody's skillful enough to paint the roar of the falls, to paint the scene of panic and desperation, and we all need these inevitable scenes painted for us. And as a leader, you need to get good at painting them yourself. For young people, older people, business people, in social affairs, whatever, learn to paint the inevitable. Study the inevitable and learn to paint the inevitable, so that you can help people with the pictures of where surely their neglect will take them, where surely their delay will take them, where surely their current habits will take them. You just paint the picture, inevitable pictures. So be a student of inevitability. Here's the last one, and it's very important. Be a student of rationality. How to come to good conclusions from all that you've taken in. And that's a real challenge. Rationality. How should I proceed based on all I know? How shall I take all that I've gathered up and use it for the future? Making a rational conclusion based on input. Now here's also the key to your future. Make sure the conclusions for your procedure are your own. Take input, yes, but not orders. Instructions, yes. Advice, yes. Information, yes. Somebody's opinion, yes. Orders, no. Make sure your procedure is the product of your own conclusion. That's how you grow. And for leadership, you must really become skillful at coming to good personal conclusions based on all the input. Don't be afraid of advice. Don't be afraid of opinions. Don't be afraid of input. Take it all, but then come to your own conclusions. Now then, to finish up, let me give you the notes of a speech I gave. And this will just give you some of my personal feelings here about opportunity and capacity, what's available for us today. I gave a speech to our international group. I think this time we were in Honolulu, Hawaii. And I just have the notes here from the speech I gave, and I just want to pass them along to you. The title of my talk was, Today I Am a Wealthy Man. And I just made a list of some of the things I thought that had made me wealthy. And interestingly enough, it didn't have that much to do with money. Here were the notes I put together. I said, today I'm a wealthy man because of my heritage. And if you study it closely, heritage is wealth. We all have come into possession of unique things that we didn't create and things we didn't even pay for. Somebody else paid the price, somebody else invented it, somebody else started it, and now we're the benefactors. Heritage. The books we read, a lot of that's just heritage. Somebody else paid the price to get the experience, to put it on paper. The least we can do is gather it up and utilize it, take advantage of that heritage, the libraries. We are now able to walk in and check books out of a library we didn't leave the legacy for. Somebody else did that. Heritage. Free enterprise. Liberty, freedom, democracy. That's heritage. Some people paid the supreme price to leave this legacy for us to enjoy. That's heritage. We get to fly on an airplane we didn't build, talk on a telephone we didn't invent. Just things that came our way, that are legacy, heritage, given to us to see what we can do with them. So what we ought to do is really understand what a value and what a wealth heritage is and take advantage of it and utilize it. Next, I said, today I'm a wealthy man because of my experiences, and experiences can create wealth. We sometimes call it a wealth of experience. That's good terminology. Experience is wealth. It's commodity. It's value. And what we must do as leaders is understand even more the value of experience, the places you've gone and the things you've done and what's happened to you, both the upside and the downside, both the good side and the bad side, both the prosperous side and the times you went broke. That whole vast array of human experiences on your part, if you'll consider it, is wealth. I then said, today I'm a wealthy man because of my friends. I have made some unique friends around the world, people that I've come in touch with and in contact with the last 20-some years. Incredible. Friends. There probably isn't any greater wealth than the wealth of good friends. Someone once said, a real good friend is somebody who knows all about you and still likes you. Friendship. Make the kind of friends on your way up who will take you in on your way down. Friends, right, that hold your head when you think it's all over, who tell you there's another chance when you think it's gone. Friends, somebody who stays with you till the cobwebs clear. Because some things are like being in a wreck, right? I've been in a couple of those financial wrecks, and you're wandering around on the highway. You need somebody to come and help you and hold you steady, till everything clears. Friends. Friends who care. I have someone I could call if I was falsely accused and thrown into a Mexican jail. I have somebody I'd call. Guess why I'd call him? He would come and get me. That's why. See, that's a friend. Somebody who will come and get you. At what cost? Any cost. Now, see, that's a real friend. For how long? As long as it takes. There are some people that are just great to hang out with. The founding fathers said, to each other and to all of this we have created, we pledge our lives and our fortunes and our sacred honor. That's a good group to belong to. A group that pledges fortunes and lives and sacred honor? Boy, if you can find a group like that, you got to join. That's wealth. That's heavy. Next, I said, today I'm a wealthy man because of my knowledge. All of the things I've come into possession of, to know, has made me wealthy. And some things I know, I'm just not even quite sure how I know. I'm still puzzled by some of the mysteries of life. Yesterday, I told you what my greatest fault was, procrastination. Someone asked me, what is your greatest virtue? I said, I think it is my unusual awareness. There's just some things I know. I've read a lot of books and I've met a lot of people and I've had a lot of experiences, but there's just some things I know. I have an uncanny sense of history and human behavior, people. That's why I love to travel around the world, is because I have this uncanny sense that whatever I see, I know, I understand, in some uncanny way. If there's any gift I could wish for anyone, that would be one of the gifts, unusual awareness. And I don't really know where it all comes from. Someone asked me one time, can unusual awareness be taught? And I said, I don't know. But I think all the things we've talked about this weekend will give you a good chance toward developing unusual awareness, to where you can sense the heartbeat. You can sense what's happening. You just have an uncanny knowledge of life and people. What's going on? That's wealth. Next, I said, today I'm a wealthy man because of my future. And future can make you wealthy. I have the pledge of some unique people for service and capital and talent. My staff around me and some of the people in doing business around the world. People who say, what do you want to do? We'll go do it. See, that's incredible. The pledge of the future. What do you want to accomplish? We'll just go accomplish it. What does it need? What capital does it need? What do we need to learn? Who do we need? We'll go find them. See, that's rich. I'm wealthy because of the future. And last I said, today I'm a wealthy man because of my great love experience. I had one of those remarkable, incredible experiences. About 12, 13 years ago, I found myself single. And I'm proceeding as best I can with my life. And then I met Judy. It was as if this unique lady had fallen out of the sky. There she was, superstar, sophisticated, continental, classy lady. I thought, wow, that is some kind of lady. Then I found out she was single, and I became incredibly intrigued. And to make a long story short, Judy also took a liking to me. We went together for about a year, and it was one of those unusual experiences. It's just, I'm a farm boy from Idaho, right? And I've read all the novels. I've seen the movies, but this was too much for my mind. This incredible lady. And I thought, wow, could I possibly have some kind of chance? Sure enough, by some stroke of whatever, I did. We went together for a year and we got married. We traveled around the world. We did all the incredible things. This lady made an unbelievable impact on my life. The experience was like 1,000 freight trains rushing through the night. High intensity. Judy was the kind of person you like to be around 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 30 days a month. Unbelievable. I had no idea that could ever possibly happen to me. See, Judy's the one who said, dress up, put on your bow tie. We're going to go hear Van Cliburn. Thought, who's Van Cliburn? She takes me to the symphony. We watch the ballet. We go to the plays. We listen to the orchestras. We travel the world. Judy's the one who knew where the Mona Lisa was. She said, let me show you the Mona Lisa. So when I gazed directly at the Mona Lisa, Judy had me by the hand. She's the one who pointed out the Mona Lisa. She said, let's discover the mysteries of Spain. Let's soak up history in London. That's where I got all that. She knew where the seashells were in the Bahamas. I couldn't believe this lady. She shared with me things I'd never had experienced before, taught me to see things I'd never seen, experience things I'd never experienced. It was one of those rare things that happens. Unbelievable. She touched my life like no one else has ever touched it. We went together for a year. We were married 4 years. Then it ended as quickly as it began. Within 10 days, it was finished. And now, the massive disappointment. I thought I was fairly strong and vigorous, and I'd taken some up and down financial and personal things, and I figured I could handle most anything, but this one was a bit much for me. The incredible, massive, overwhelming disappointment. It was just as intense as the love affair. And I thought, I wonder if I shall make it through this. You know, the questions and the pondering. I guess we all wish something unique would last forever. If you're on vacation, you'd like to have another week. If you live to be 100, you just need one more year. Right? Whatever's going well, we all wished it would extend, but everything must end. But it took me a while. In fact, it took me a couple of years to finally put all of that in its place. I finally decided that if I was to allow it, the overwhelming disappointment would destroy all the good I had. So I finally had to put that in its place. And about a year later was when I wrote that short letter that I quoted for you yesterday, pondering what it was all about. And Judy and I are still very good friends. We're still involved in some things together. So we have a pretty good relationship going, but that unique, intensive love affair ended. But I must say to you that most of what I am today, whatever effect I can have and whatever I can share, most of it came from that 5 years. The lady touched me. It was one of those wealth experiences that creates a dozen lifetimes in one. It's incredible. So, see, a love experience can make you wealthy if you will protect it and guide it, do whatever's necessary to keep it alive. If you care about somebody, I think my best advice would be, whatever it takes, protect it and uniquely work with it. Better to have a love affair and live in a tent on the beach than to live in a mansion by yourself. There's nothing like finding somebody and caring for somebody. So if you've got something going, if a chair gets in the way, destroy it. Whatever it takes to preserve and protect that kind of wealth, because those are treasures beyond imagination. So what's incredibly exciting about my life now is the rest of my life is a bonus. I mean, I've had it all, I guess. I don't know. It seems like I have. I've lived a dozen lifetimes. So the rest of my life is just an extended bonus. But that was some kind of experience. But that's where the wealth is: future, friends, knowledge, experiences, heritage, a great love. Let me wrap up now with a couple of challenges and we'll be finished. Here are the challenges. From this weekend, I would challenge you to make your life not acceptable, not just acceptable, but memorable. See, society will let you get by with far less than you want to be. So don't judge just by society's standards as to your success. Judge by your own demands and leave behind some footprints. Do so well they will measure your stride to see if they can match it. And then the challenge is to let others lead small lives, but not you. Let others cry over small hurts, but not you. Let others argue over non-essentials, but not you. The strength and challenge of leadership. And then finally, let it be said of you that you develop the gift of helping people not just with their jobs, but with their lives. And that's the unique challenge of leadership. Touch people with help for their life, not just for their job. Don't just teach job skills, teach life skills. Those kind of skills that make life unique. Help people with their goals as well as with their job description. Don't just in your training classes or working with people, whatever you do, pass along the information that can help people. Recommend the books. Pass along the ideas you've gathered up here this weekend. If you find them valuable, pass them along. Don't just keep them for yourself. Share them everywhere you go. Help people with their lives. If you build that kind of reputation, sure enough, people will say, I was only there 6 months. I was only there a year. I was there 2 or 3 years. But I tell you what, it was the best 2 or 3 years of my life. Not just for what I earned, but primarily for what I learned. I was at a place where they touched me. I was at a place where they helped me with my philosophy of life and how to proceed. And finally, there's a Bible phrase that says, if you will really work on your gifts, they will make room for you. And sure enough, some of the guidelines we have talked about the last couple of days, if you'll work on them thoroughly, if you'll work on them consistently and daily, the gift of your awareness, the gift of your perception, your gifts of knowledge and understanding, procedure, your ability to help other people, your ability to inspire other lives, lend somebody a helping hand, solve problems, work on challenges. Sure enough, if you work on all of those gifts, you will have an unusual place. I couldn't possibly have believed 20 years ago that I would be traveling around the world, visiting various countries, sharing my ideas through translators, and writing books and developing tapes, talking with people from all walks of life. I had no idea that from the farms of Idaho someday I would arrive at this platform talking to this sophisticated group of people in Orange County, California. But sure enough, here I am. And I think I'm probably an excellent example that you can take a small start. And if you work on the basics and apply certain principles, there'll be a place for you. There'll be a platform for you. There'll be an audience for you. There'll be an enterprise for you. The world cannot deny your place if you work on your gifts. And I wish that for you. I wish for you all the joy that comes from disciplined effort and the excitement that comes from knowing if you apply right principles, you get right results. And then, sure enough, as you conclude your earthly journey, you can easily say, it was well worth it all. I wouldn't have traded it for anything. So in closing, I want you to write your own success chapter in the book of success. Make sure you've got a chapter. And when they finish your success chapter, hopefully they will say, you did it. And then hopefully they will say, you did it well. And then hopefully they will say, you did it all.